As you were showing that highlight, it appeared the guys were using a club I haven't seen before. You called it a driver?
Yeah, it's alive and well. Some guys
they still make
put it
those?
in the closet. Yeah, absolutely. Some guys have them in the bag. And take a look at the guys leading this golf tournament. Take a look at this statistic here, and you can just see from top to bottom all the way through the bag.
And time now for travelers preparing for success, and certainly these guys have been very successful striking the ball.
Well, Sergio Garcia leads in total driving, leads in ball striking. Henrik, Stenson, Graham Dillette, all of these guys hitting marvelous drives. 1, 2, 3. So it's worth a look at these golf swings. Sergio Garcia is known for a lot of things, the angle he gets on his downswing, but I want you to see his head gently moves off of the ball, wide on the takeaway, very athletic, big, wide takeaway, turns his shoulders about 100, 110 degrees, and look at this angle he gets at the top. Perfect 90-degree angle here, but I want you to watch a couple things. How narrow it gets on the way down and how acute, more acute this angle gets. He drops down a little bit, the head gets further behind the shot, and he increases that angle. A lot of people wonder how he does that. Well, the best way to figure out is just ask somebody. Sergio Garcia himself said that he and his dad have this game they play. They get up to the top and they try to pretend that they're pulling a chain from the top straight down. And what that does is it drops his right elbow into his right side, and he feels like he can hold his shoulder angle and drop the hands down. Now, his head does stay back a little bit. Great drivers of the ball, their head does go a little bit back. Their spine angle is a little bit tilt, and then they cover it with their right shoulder. Speaking of great drivers of the golf ball, Henrik Stenson. Time and time again, he's on that leaderboard. I want you to watch something. He moves off of the ball, too. This load left theory, trust me, it's not alive and well in the Henrik Stenson golf swing or Sergio Garcia. Look at that. He moves to the right, and what he's doing there is he's establishing a pivot point to the right, and he's pivoting around that. That's that pivot point. I'm going to show it to you. It's his right leg. I talk about holding the right side as you begin your transition. He pushes off the inside of that foot and establishes another pivot point. Get rid of that one, and there's the pivot point. It's the left leg, left shoulder, and that shoulder is moving behind him, and what it does is it keeps that left pec on your chest. That's called connection. You hear players talk about keeping their arms and their body synced up. Look at his arms. They're in front of his body the whole way through. His arms are not outracing his upper body. His upper body is not outracing his arms. He finishes with his elbows down right in front of him, much like a great Canadian golfer George Knudsen used to talk about. Certainly Hogan did it. Henrik Stenson does it for a lot of different reasons.
You know, I watched that, Brandel, and I can sense the excitement in your voice. That for the person at home, they probably think this is your average week of golfers, just some really low scores. But are these guys doing something different than we see week in, week out on the PGA Tour?
Not average at all over the last 10 or 15 years. Good question. Over the last 10 or 15 years, I've seen a lot of ugly golf, and in particular, tee shots come from the eventual winners of golf tournament. Now, the setups, to be fair, are set up so that players can win with poor driving, and they don't adequately reward great driving. If you start to look at the way the game's being taught right now, and I talk about, listen, I love looking at the numbers of TrackMan, but I can produce great numbers with TrackMan with my arms moving into out and away from my body with a release of the club. I can get great TrackMan numbers doing that, but you can't repeat that golf swing. And so much of what's being taught on the PGA Tour right now is emasculating golfers as it relates to drivers, because they're getting these perfect numbers with the driver swings, and you can't repeat it with your iron swings. Sergio Garcia was taught by his dad. He intuited the game. Henrik Stenson, taught by Pete Cowan. I've never met Pete Cowan, but he is a genius just looking at all the stuff that this guy is teaching right now. And guess what? Graham Dillette, he never had a lesson in his life. His dad showed him how to hit the golf club, and again, he intuited impact. He wasn't taught it. These guys are not playing fearful golf. They're not playing fearless. They're playing fearless golf, and they're not mindless of what impact should be. They know what impact should be, and they've intuited it, and they're swinging to it, and it is great to see. And I promise you, you haven't seen this over the last 10 or 15 years to the degree and to the number of men that are contending in this golf tournament right now.
Brendel, is the game better with a driver in hand? We've seen Tiger win an Open Championship without using driver at all, using a 2-iron. We see Phil, he doesn't even carry a driver anymore. These are the two most popular players in the world, certainly in the last several decades. Is the game better with driver in hand?
There's a lot of ways to play this game, and you can certainly win this game playing around a weakness, but it it stands to reason to me that the best players, the players who win the most golf tournaments, ought to be able to hit the hardest club in the bag, the driver. It's why I go out to watch a golf tournament. It's what we enjoy seeing. Who doesn't want to swing as hard as you can at the hardest club to hit? The best players in the world ought to be able to do that. Give me the hardest club to hit. Who can swing as hard as they can and still hit it dead straight? We've seen so much fearful golf over the last 10 or 15 years, and in particular the last 2 or 3 years, that it is refreshing to see guys stand up on tees with the hardest club to hit, swing it hard, hit it straight. That is fun golf to watch.